Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, do we have an episode for you guys today. So make sure you go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, let me just get into this topic here. I'm sure all of you are aware at this point of the bombshell news that dropped in the NBA last night when we heard that Kevin Durant officially put in his request with the Brooklyn Nets to be traded to another team. That piece of news was so significant that it actually caused us to go live immediately. And we just went live, and I think myself and the audience, we were just there in total amazement. A lot of the people that were watching that live was like, really unbelievable. Wow. I think all of us are still trying to process what just happened. Who would have seen this? Who would have seen this coming? I certainly did not. Maybe some people would have hoped, but I certainly did not think that in free agency, one of the best players to ever play basketball would decide that, you know what, I'm willing to change teams in the middle or towards the tail end of his prime and the start of a brand new contract. But that is exactly what happened. And during that live, I said something. I was talking about blame, and I said who was to be blamed, and I mentioned Kevin Durant and all this, but I also said that Kyrie Irving was going to get a significant amount of the blame, and the person that was going to be coming for him is going to be the person that has always been coming for him, and that person was Stephen A. Smith. And just this morning or yesterday, whenever the video came out, we saw Stephen A. Smith, who I believe was on vacation, who was brought into ESPN, and they asked him, who do you think is to blame for the collapse, the total historic collapse of the Brooklyn Nets? And he didn't hold anything back when he was given his response. So for those of you who missed the comments that Stephen A. Smith had to make about who's to blame for the collapse of the Brooklyn Nets, take a listen to what he had to say here, and then we're going to come back and react to it. Take a listen to that.
I want to know right now, what do you feel for us with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant going on? I want to know how you feeling about Kyrie Irving right now at this moment.
I feel that Kyrie Irving ruined the franchise. I feel that all of this is his doing. If Kyrie Irving had shown up to work, if he had been a more consistent presence, then he'd still be in Brooklyn. KD would still want to be in Brooklyn. They probably might have won a championship, or at least would have been knocking on the door again, because we all know that Kyrie Irving is a spectacular talent. The fact of the matter is that when you hear, you all know it, you cover the league. I know he and everybody close to him wants to blame me as if I'm the only one talking about him instead of the entire NBA community. But that's okay. Everybody knows late practices, showing up when you want, leaving when you want, going to the locker room after the coach conducted a practice and pulling players out to bring them on the court and conduct your own practices, assuming that you know what, you were going to play a significant role in who was going to be on the front office, who's going to be on the roster, et cetera, instead of coming there to work every day and simply doing your job. Is something that became too drama-filled to the point that in the media capital of the world, with the media descending down upon you, they were looking at the Brooklyn Nets in a not-so-flattering fashion. And as a result, guys like Sean Marks was taking hits, Joe Tsai was taking hits, Kevin Durant and his legacy was taking hits. So enough's enough. Everywhere you turn, what is there to say? If you're Sean Marks, you the general manager, KD tells you he wants Kyrie, you give him Kyrie, so you take him along with Kyrie. They wanted DeAndre Jordan on the roster, and they wanted him to get about $40 million. They did that for him. They wanted a coach with no coaching experience whatsoever. They did all of that. So when you look at it from that perspective, they capitulated to the wishes of their two stars, and Kevin Durant capitulated to the wishes of a Kyrie Irving. Then Kyrie Irving misses most of this season, only plays 29 games, expects a 4-year deal to be waiting for him, a 4-year extension where his salary will be in excess of $248 million. That doesn't happen. He's insulted. He's looking for other teams, throws out a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors, even had the Philadelphia 76ers on the phone willing to give him a 3-year deal, guarantee him a 3-year deal. But there was no way in hell he was interested in going to Philadelphia and rejoining James Harden or anything like that. So that was a smokescreen. He certainly wasn't interested in going to the Knicks. That was a smokescreen. So we look at all of these different things, and it comes down to this. He's been telling people he wants to be in L.A. He's been telling people he wants to wear the same uniform that Kobe Bryant once wore. And if you're LeBron James, you certainly don't mind that after what you had to deal with, yesterday.
You heard what he had to say. Here are my thoughts on this. And I have a few. I agree with Stephen A. Smith for one very simple reason. And that reason is this. Who has been the most problematic Nets player over the last 2 to 3 seasons? Of all of the marquee names and all of the players that they have on their roster, they have Blake Griffin, they have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, now Ben. Who has been the most problematic guy? And that person has been Kyrie Irving. There is always something surrounding Kyrie Irving. Always some type of drama. It's either he said something or he did something. And Kyrie Irving turned out to be a total distraction. And he himself admitted it. At the end of the season, after they got swept, he said, I believe that my situation had become a distraction for the team. He himself said that with his own 2 words at the end of the season. And I think Kevin Durant, when I was blaming him yesterday, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to reiterate that point here. I think the biggest mistake Kevin Durant did was passing up on the opportunity to possibly play with LeBron or Kawhi for Kyrie Irving. That was the first mistake he made. Why was Kevin Durant taking his cues from Kyrie Irving when Kyrie Irving had no history whatsoever of proving or showing that he had been a leader anywhere? Forget about what's happening with the Brooklyn Nets. Just go look at Boston. It didn't work out there. When he got to Cleveland, it didn't work out there. It was just LeBron, I believe, was managing him. And LeBron went on to win another NBA championship. And now he's in Brooklyn, and it's just been a total mess. I think Katie finally realized that Brooklyn Nets organization was going absolutely nowhere. That's number one. And number two, I believe the final reason it caused Kevin Durant to say, you know what, I'm going to jump ship is simply this. He realized that Kyrie Irving wanted out. Kyrie Irving already made it clear that he was planning to leave the Brooklyn Nets, if y'all don't remember. So Katie owed Kyrie nothing. And I think it's unbelievable that Kyrie Irving was planning to leave the Brooklyn Nets after he's the one that told everybody to go there when he found out he wasn't getting his money. Think about that. Y'all are forgetting that fact. The Brooklyn Nets said they were not going to give him that Supermax contract. And he was like, you remember the reports, they had an impasse. And he's like, okay, well, I want to go to another team. And then Kyrie Irving found out that the only team that really had any serious interest in him was probably the Lakers or probably the Clippers. And then he decided to opt in and play out his contract and then leave. There have been reports about this as well. So why in the hell would Kevin Durant want to stay there anyway? For a guy that recruited him, convinced him to come there, and then all of a sudden, this guy is ready to leave. To me, I think the entire thing is a joke. The Nets organization they are a laughing stock right now. And Stephen A. Smith is looking like a prophet. He is looking mighty prophetic this morning because he has been the one guy that has been on Kyrie Irving's case. And the people that have been defending Kyrie, saying that, oh, he's coming at him for the mandate, fine. We're no longer talking about the mandate. Now we're talking about all these other things. And yet again, think about this. There's another situation in Brooklyn. Look at the history. Cleveland, Boston, Brooklyn. At a certain point, you got to look at the common denominator, and you can't be blaming everybody for it. You can't be. So Stephen A. Smith seems to be 100% on the money, and I think he's going to have a field day with Kyrie Irving. And the people that want to defend him, you're going to be hard pressed to defend this. Catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.